Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today.
Welcome to The Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and author and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. So thrilled to have you join us today. And I promise it's a very exciting discussion. In this episode, I talked to the person who's known as the Duchess of Decorum by her 1 million followers. I talked to Pattie, Ehsaei. She established herself as one of the leading financial experts today. Pattie's TikTok teaching on female equality in the workplace, financial literacy, workplace decorum, and financial independence for women have over 8.1 million likes on her TikTok clips where she answers your questions. She has spent over 20 years in multifaceted career focused in finance, from managing divisions of banking institutions, business development, investment, banking, and raising capital from sovereign wealth funds in private equity. Pattie has seen all sides of the industry and has quickly become the authority in this space. She's a lawyer by trade and currently a director of a merger and acquisitions financing for a major national bank. Pattie is the perfect example, tough but fair, and believes that success comes from information and empowerment. And that's what she does, gives you information that is very empowering. Pattie's direct approach, peppered with levity and some real takeaway, made her an instant success and a highly sought-after speaker. She's delivered keynote addresses for numerous platforms and organizations, including Create and Cultivate, Iranian American Women's Foundation, Women's Investment Summit, the New England Women in Banking and Mortgage Conference, and the University of Denver STEM program. She's also been a panelist for events that inspire the next generation of women, such as the Meet Me in Malibu influencer panel. Pattie's voice can also be seen in print. You can go to Forbes.com and MSNBC, where she shares her wisdom as a financial contributor. Today, we are going to actually talk about her latest book, Never Date a Broke Dude. Yes, never date a broke dude. In this book, Pattie gives readers practical advice on finance, romance, and breaks down exactly why a man is not a financial plan, not a hope, and that every woman needs to be empowered to have the capability to be an earner, and for not only their own self-esteem and self-confidence, but to hold the power onto themselves and not give it away. So it's an amazing conversation. I always have a lot of fun talking to her, and I learn a lot, and I'm positive that you will also. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and YouTube channel. Connect with me through my website, FoojanZeine.com, or any of the social media platforms that I'm there, and share your thoughts with me. Go to Foojan app. You could go to Apple Store or Google Play and get the Foojan app. There are a couple of days that it's free for you, and you can check it out. You can go through 31 area, including finances and career and money and power, and to look at what are your beliefs, what are the behaviors that you do that works and doesn't work, and you can gain a lot of skills. Also, within the app, we have the AI assistant, which is called Mira. You can ask Mira any questions, and she'll answer you from the Awareness Integration Theory. And it's been amazing. We've had people who go in and just checking out one of the areas of life, and they're already getting 60 to 70% improvement in their life. So I'm positive you'll enjoy the app, Foojan app. Don't forget to go. You can also go to Foojan.com and get to know more about the app. I love to hear from you. So please share with me, contact me, let me know what you think about the app, the show, and what are some of the questions that you might have. And I'd love to be able to answer them for you. Now, without further ado, Here's Pattie Ehsaei.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
I am so excited to have you back on the show. Everyone, Pattie Ehsaei, so nice to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Oh, you're so vibrant. I always get so much great energy when I talk to you. And, like some of the late night, I'm looking at Instagram, like this bubble of and power.
Thank you.
So I love it. And you have your upcoming book, and it's amazing. It's a Never Date a Broke Dude, the Financial Freedom Playbook. I love
Yes.
it. Come up with this concept and the name?
Well, I did a video a while back that went viral. It was called Never Date a Broke Dude. And people just loved it. And I thought, you know what, that's a perfect name for the book. And although, the book is not just about dating a broke dude, obviously, but it's also about being financially independent. So I thought it was a really catchy book title. And I thought it was funny. So yeah, that's how it came about.
It is funny. One of the things that I've experienced, actually, Pattie, working with a lot of clients where women are obviously becoming wealthier. They have their own businesses. They have amazing, way of learning how to create business and wealth. And you support them a lot with that, with your work, and you're empowering them in how to do that. I've also noticed that when the financial, let's say, social financial level does not match and they're not compatible,
right?
Relationship or in their marriages, there's always some conflict. Like if a gentleman has a lot of wealth and the female does not, that's almost like they both are okay with it. But if the woman is very wealthy and the guy is not, there's always some friction that goes on. And it also goes back into something that you were sharing. If there's some psychological need or concept that happens at that moment that neither one are happy. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I think one of the most important things in a relationship is power dynamics and who holds the power. And one thing that I've realized is money is what determines who holds the power in a relationship, period. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's what it is. And as you know, money is one of the top reasons that relationships end. But money is really used as a means of control. And I always say money is nothing but an exchange of energy. So someone gives you money or you give someone money in exchange for something. It's never the case where someone's given money and nothing is expected back, period. So typically, when you support someone and you're giving them money, you expect them to do something in return. And sometimes that just doesn't match to what they want. And it ends up being a very, very controlling situation for the man or the woman. I've seen it both. Anytime the power dynamics shift as far as finances in a relationship, then I find that the person that doesn't have the money ends up being controlled a lot more often than vice versa.
Absolutely. And I've watched women who have not created the earning power, that
Correct.
They do put themselves in a position of getting abused more and more. So
Correct.
it's so important for them to have this type of an earning power. And something that you shared, almost like the first rule of your book, is for you as a woman to be any human being, but mostly the woman, because that has been the case, to have the ability to create income for themselves.
Yes, that's very important. As women, we've been brainwashed to believe that a man is supposed to provide and protect for us, and that's just complete BS. Our ancestors, that's not what happened with our ancestors. New studies have come out that women were hunters right along with the men. Women went to war right along with the men. So this notion that men are supposed to be the providers and women are supposed to be the nurturers is a notion that was created by the patriarchy to keep women from progressing in society and to keep them under a man's thumb. So we unfortunately are still drinking this Kool-Aid, unfortunately are still believing that it's a man's job to provide. And even when we do work, we hand over our paycheck to him because we're thinking he knows more about money than we do, which is a complete utter lie. Study after study shows that women are better investors than men who are better with money. So a woman always has to have enough money to be able to get an apartment, to pay her bills in a short time until she figures out what she's doing in case something goes wrong in the relationship.
Absolutely. It does take, and it's not just about the relationship. What I've also noticed, Pattie, is that especially when the role of a woman changes from a homemaker and a mother, where the kids are grown and they're trying to
Hmm.
like move on from almost teenagers, which they don't need the mommy consistent
Sure.
with them, and then go off to college, that women also go through this kind of transformation about who am I now? And I want to
Hmm.
have my productivity known
Right.
in a way. There was a research that just showed up yesterday that I saw it that says there is a quiet X chromosome that women have that after in an older age it goes out of the dormant and shows up and gets active, and it gives women a different level of a brain power. So you could see that,
Interesting.
yes. So it was interesting
Very interesting.
to see that at an age where we think, okay, we are going to go through menopause and, we
Hmm.
our job and everything, that there's another boost that shows up for women to want to know who they are, their productivity, what they can do, their creativity. And it shows up in a whole different way. Have you had that experience with people that you work with?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've noticed as women get older, all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, I want to do something more. I want to do something different." I mean, that was actually the case with me. I started my TikTok channel when I was 50 years old, so I always wanted to do something new, and I see that happening with a lot of women around us. The issue with that, what I see is that these women have gone through most of their lives not keeping up their skills that are necessary to get back into the workplace, right? So they've been stay-at-home moms. They really haven't done much in the workplace. And now they have this ambition to be something more, but they're limited because they didn't keep up, their skills or what they used to do in the past. So that's what I feel is the biggest challenge.
Yes, absolutely. That's very true. In your book, you say that hope is not a strategy. It's
Hmm.
you need that, yes, the positive mentality moving forward, not having the like a negative mentality and that holds you back. But there's a difference
Right.
between that and just kind of like hoping versus strategizing and moving forward. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. When I was younger, I really wanted to become financially responsible. I wasn't for a long time. And I kept hoping that one day I would wake up the next day and hope to be better, hope to be able to save, hope to be able to become, financially savvy. And one thing I would always tell the people that worked on my team when they said, "Well, I'm hoping to do this," I'd be like, "Hope is not a strategy." And I was like, wait, that applies to all types of things in life as well, not just in the workplace. So instead of hoping that, you're going to do something one day, you have to have a strategy and you have to have a plan. Unless you have that, you don't have anything.
And what are some of the strategies that you offer with your clients and people you are really, sharing with for them to move forward, honor themselves and look at who they are and have the strategy to get to where they want?
Yeah, I think the strategy starts out with having a plan. Warren Buffett always says that a person with an idiot with a plan is a lot better than a genius without a plan. So you have to have a plan in whatever you need to do, and that includes your finances. So when it comes to finances, you have to budget. You have to make sure that you have a budget. You've created it. You have that plan. When it comes to if you want to get back in the workplace, what is your plan? Do you need to do some more education? Do you need to get some more education? Do you need to get some more skills? So you really have to have a plan instead of just hoping that something's going to happen, and then it never does, unfortunately.
I remember, I've worked since I was 16 or 17, right?
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I did. And I've always worked. I think there was like 6 months that I didn't work and I was in between and I got so depressed and I'm like, no, I need to do that. But it came to a place, Pattie, that I spent every dollar that I made. And at one point I'm like, and it got to be like late 40s, 50s. And I'm like, okay, my energy is not as much. And what am I doing?
Right.
Looking at, how am I spending? There was no plan for the future or retirement. And I remember, people saying to me, you need to invest. I'm like, no, I spent everything. I don't have money. And it was more like, okay, I got to take this without me watching and seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Get away from me. So the minute that I earned it, it had to move to some place that I didn't see it anymore.
Right.
Saw it. I had the idea that I had to spend it. So it actually began with that concept of hitting the wall of my energy is going down and I've got to plan something for the future. I never learned that from my parents. My parents, the same thing. They made it and then it left. And or there was nothing to be given to me. I raised myself in the United States.
Sure.
And it was more like you just, I had the capacity to earn and let it go. And this is something that you also share in your book, Rule 7, like start investing, even if it's just $100. Look at a strategy, because then you can make yourself stable, you can make yourself wealthy, you can make yourself secure.
Yeah, I mean, I think investing for your future is something that most people don't understand. I don't know why, because we think we're going to work until we're 100. That's just not feasible, and that's why a lot of people end up living with their children, because they don't have the money to support themselves. And investing is something that people are so intimidated about doing. They're like, I don't know how to invest. And it's so easy. I break it down, step by step in my book about how to just start investing. It's 3 or 4 simple steps that you need to take. And the best part about investing is you just have to be consistent. You don't have to worry about the ups and downs of the market if you invest correctly. If you invest in ETFs and index funds, you don't have to worry about market fluctuations. You just set it and you forget it, and you invest every single month. And then you don't even see it until when you retire and you have millions of dollars.
Yes. Now, how do you, your book is very much systematically teaching people how to take care of themselves. But what is the link that has to do with the book's name, which is, I'll share it with people again because I want them to see it. Never Date a Broke Dude, the financial freedom playbook, right? So yes, it does have the concept of the freedom that you need to have in order to be empowered and kind of like independent or interdependent versus dependent to another person. But you've chosen this name for a particular reason. Is it because of the cultural delusion that we have that you are pointing this out?
No, because I dated a broke dude and it was the worst financial decision of my life.
Say more.
Yeah, so I dated a broke dude, and it was in my early 30s. And when we met, and this is in the book, when I met him, he was 26, living with his parents, and he was trying to get his life together, trying to get into the industry, and he didn't have any money. So slowly but surely, like, it went from him spending the night one night to 2 nights to 3 nights, and then he was living with me. And I was just so desperate and just so happy to have him there all the time and so desperate to be in a relationship and to have a warm body because that's how I defined myself, that I paid for everything. And I didn't care that he wasn't contributing. I didn't care that, we would plan vacations and we would plan, concerts, everything I paid for. He didn't pay for anything. And I was content. And I was really, it's not all his fault. I was complicit in allowing him to do that. I was complicit in accepting that behavior from somebody, right? So I dated a broke dude and I realized like what a huge financial mistake that was. I was in $30,000 of debt when I had zero when I met him. After we broke up. He actually broke up with me, like the nerve. But after we broke up, I was $30,000 in debt, and it was just such a horrible financial decision. And not only just, it was a horrible financial decision, it was a horrible spiritual decision because I knew that he wasn't right for me, but I didn't care because, again, we've been brainwashed to believe that our entire happiness is dependent on having a man. And if we don't have a man, nothing else matters. And I was so caught up in that I didn't realize what was happening.
My experience with that type of a relationship with my clients has been that the men in those positions, they take on a role of a teenager and never grow up. And then as
Yeah.
they're growing up, then because they were a teenager to their mother, not they're necessarily, an adult to an adult lover,
Hmm.
that's when they actually say goodbye. Like either they feel
Right.
fan and they need to move out of this because they can't, it's like I can't never match this and I will never have a power in this relationship. Or as they're gaining power, then it's like, okay, in the eye of this woman, I'm always that kind of like broke dude teenager and I've acted that way. So now that I'm building, I'm going to go somewhere else, which I can look like that I'm the king. And another person is looking at me like, okay, this person is up there.
Sure.
And I can have my ego boosted.
Hmm.
Seen any relationship that has that dynamic that is truly worked long term? Like you said, very short term,
Correct.
still in the delusion that I'm in love and I'll do everything and love conquers.
Yeah.
Yet that, that's very short lived. But at one point, these types of relationships just don't work. Either the relationships work where the man is the breadwinner and the wife is, giving, bringing what they need as a service
Hmm.
talent within the relationship somehow,
Correct.
feel equal about these services, or that they're actually equal in some level with the finances. Is that also
Correct.
experience with your client?
Yes, no, I absolutely. I mean, these men, they always feel like they're less than, right? And it again has to do with what they think about themselves, right? So they always feel like they're less than, and since they feel like they're less than, what happens is they start to resent you, and they start to resent, what you're doing, and then they start to build contempt. And then once contempt is built, then there's really nowhere to go from there. You really need to have, if you are a woman who makes a lot of money, and, I've been fortunate to be in that category. It's hard to date someone that makes as much money as I do. But that's okay. I mean, my fiance now, he does very well for himself. He doesn't make as much as I do, but he's very successful in what he's doing. He hustles, he works hard, he's very well respected. So, I always say you don't have to match me dollar for dollar, but you have to match me hustle for hustle. So if I'm out there working, if I'm out there hustling, you have to be out there hustling. You have to be out there working, and you have to be able to pay for yourself. If you can pay for yourself, then, I don't need anyone to support me. I just don't want to support you. And I think that should be the case in every relationship. Honestly, I don't think I get so many people in my DM saying, oh, well, a man should never date a broke girl either. I'm like, absolutely. Everyone should date on their level of finances. Period. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not against that.
Really, though, not only let's say in Middle Eastern countries or Eastern countries, but even in the Western countries, I think the culture has allowed the man to be the provider. And so in that relation, I think many people, especially if the wife wants to share many of their lives raising children, like I met two physicians, the men were physicians, actually their wives were physicians. However, they let go of their career in order to raise their children. They had, each one of them had 3 children, and they were raising them. And then by the time that their children were raised, they no longer went back to, getting their residency and coming and doing their work and, creating offices. So although they started at the same place, but because the women went into this role of child rearing, they took off from their career. And at one point, they no longer wanted to take on the same kind of career. Sometimes they create other ways and other means of, being significant out there and finding who they are. But there's also you don't have to be in that kind of a hustle, but as long as you know that you can earn money, you can create money, you can invest your own money, that you're not just looking at the other person at the mercy of the other person as a provider, then you still are empowered, whether you choose to become a career woman or not. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. My friend, Dr. Jen Mann, and I say this in the book, her Aunt Toni Mendez had a very, very good line. And she said, a woman should always have FU money. And I love that. I think that line is so good. And at the end of the day, whether, you've given up on your career or not, or, whether you're working or not, whatever, you have to find some way to have some money for yourself. So you can always walk out of a relationship. And really, the power dynamics when your significant other, whether a man or a woman, believes that you don't have a choice and that you have to stay in this relationship, that person is going to give themselves a lot more leeway to do and say stuff that they normally wouldn't do and say, because they're thinking, where is she or he going to go? Right? They give themselves a lot more audacity to say things or do things that they normally wouldn't say because they think you don't have a choice. But when you make your own money or you control your own money or have your own money, you put the other person on notice that you're here in this relationship because you want to be, not because you have to be, and you have choices and you may not choose them. And that really is a different relationship where the power dynamics become equal.
Pattie, what you just shared, I have experienced a lot with people and men who have, gone into infidelity within their relationship. And then when the woman was found out, and it was very, very heartbroken at one point, it's like, I'm leaving. When we work in the sessions, they're like, I never thought she would leave. Just like what
exactly.
And it's like, okay, I gave myself the right to flirt. I gave myself the right to do all of these things because it's like, I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. And this is
correct.
You're very right that when you put yourself in a position that appears as if you're not going to leave or you don't have any other options, then yes, you could be people can take you for granted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, you're also complicit in that, right? You're also complicit in not looking out for yourself and not being financially responsible and being, financially independent. You never want to be in that position. You never want to be in a position where a person thinks that you don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of the conversation that I hear from you and I hear from myself and my experience, it also shows up from some level of the lack of safety and security that a man can be a provider and a protector, or at least a kind protector. I know for me, obviously it came because, I didn't have necessarily a father figure who was there. And, I came to US when I was 12 and practically just raised myself. Like I had to be.
Yep. Sure.
What are the things that you have experienced that has brought you into that place that yeah, that essence is not the safety and the security, although it is
Mhm.
somehow portrayed as that, but the truth is that it's not.
Yes, it was the situation with my parents that has really motivated me to write this book. When my mother was in Iran, she had a great job. She was the head nurse of the Shah's hospital. She was very well respected. She made just as much money, if not more, than my father. I saw the power dynamics in the relationship being very equal. There were just these two power couples. Everybody wanted to be like them. And then once we moved to the US, my mother could not pass the nursing exams due to her language barrier. So she couldn't work. And back then, it's not like now. Now you can just go online and have a side hustle easily, data entry. There's so many things. Back then, there was just nothing like that. So she became financially dependent on my father. And I saw how the power dynamics shifted in that relationship. And, my mother, anytime they would argue about money because he would control what she could or could not spend, my mother would always take me in a room and tell me, do you see how my life has changed now that I'm financially dependent on your dad? She's like, no matter what you do, I don't care how rich your husband is. I don't care how much money he has. A woman should always make and control her own money because whoever controls your money controls you. And, that ended up being the case in my parents' relationship. And it eventually, led to the downfall of their relationship and led to their death, really. My mom lost her life because she was being mentally abused by my father. And, I'll skip the details. The details are in my book, but it was just such a tragic event. And I knew that my mother would still be here today if she was financially independent. I know that. And so I wanted to use her story as a catalyst for change and try to do something with her to honor her so other women would not suffer like she did. I mean, what better way to honor someone than to help others not be in the same position that they were? So this was really the reason that I'm so passionate about empowering women about their finances, about women being financially independent, because you don't understand the level of consequence that could happen to you or to other women when they're not financially independent.
Very true. I've worked with the world of domestic violence for many years. I created
Hmm.
some transitional housing for many of the companies and nonprofit organization. And one of the things that we kept seeing is that although we tried to find, careers and money and finances, but there is a psychological concept into it. But what you just said also is when you know that you cannot make it out there
Hmm.
without the other person and you have children, a lot of times the person has not given themselves like the notion that I'm worthy or the notion that I can and I am going to make,
Exactly.
and therefore they kind of diminish who they are and they keep staying in a very, very abusive place. And
Right.
within that, they keep going down and down, and finally, different illnesses or death shows up.
Right.
And that's why, like, I think part of your conclusion is actually that you're way worth more than you ever know. And I'm
Absolutely.
wishing that the person would get to know how much they're an asset in so many levels. And if they can hold their value psychologically, characteristic,
Mhm.
and show it with the power that they have, earning capacity, saving capacity, all of the wealth capacity, that it brings their worth up for themselves. And not only like an internal delusion, but actually you could manifest and really see the results out there that it's yours.
Yes.
That's where the power shows up.
Yes, we as women, again, our entire self-worth, we've been conditioned to believe is dependent on a man. And we've also been conditioned to make sure that we don't brag, don't boast, it's not ladylike. So these are all the ways that we lose our power in life, and we just don't know our worth. And I think that was the case of my mother. She just didn't know her worth or who she was. And I see it in so many examples in life where women just don't know their worth. And, in this book, I talk about that because it's too late for my mother, but it's not too late for me, and it's not too late for other people in this world. So just knowing that you're worthy and you're worthy of love, and minimally you're worthy of not being treated poorly, is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, because then that gives you the license to get out of a relationship that's not serving you.
Yes. You're right. Be the main course and not the side hustle.
Right, exactly.
Because you also, the minute that you know your own capabilities, I think that you live that, you own it. And then because you own your power, then other people will also own your power. They will also face it and look at it and uphold your value to the place that you uphold yourself. So it's so important for women to have that capacity to be able to own who they are, actually.
Yes, people will meet you at the same level of respect that you have for yourself.
Yes.
So that's what it is. So if you respect yourself a lot, they will meet you at the same level. If you don't, they'll meet you at the same level.
Everyone, get this book, Never Date a Broke Dude, The Financial Freedom Playbook by Pattie, Ehsaei. Pattie, anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know?
No, that's all. This book has just been a labor of love for me, because it was really hard to write, because it comes from a place of sadness because of my mother, but I also think it's so worth it for me to do it. If I can save one woman from being in the same situation as my mom, it's worth it. So I'm just thrilled to have this book out, and I hope that it changes a lot of lives.
And I think for every mother who has a daughter, I think when
absolutely
they utilize that for themselves, they're also an amazing role model for their next generation, and how they can empower their girls to be someone who's very, very independent financially.
Absolutely.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube at Duchess of Decorum. And my website is also pattiesai.com, but I have a link tree on all my platforms, and you can see what I'm up to and what I'm doing.
Beautiful. And where can they find your book? On your website and Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon, on my website. It's there. You can order it through a link on my website, but it's on Amazon for pre-order now.
Beautiful. It was such a joy to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. I always love speaking with you.
Same here. And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy, developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine, is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing awareness integration therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Break free from the forces holding you back. Get the life you deserve. Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, decrease depression, and start living your full potential. Thousands have used Dr. Foojan Zeine's Awareness Integration Theory, an evidence-based behavioral health breakthrough with incredible life-changing results. Getting rid of past trauma, having fulfilling relationships, increasing earnings, and living their best life. Now, the Foojan app is available to everyone. The app is Dr. Foojan Zeine's Awareness Integration Theory in the palm of your hand. Download the Foojan app today.